patterns that you're deriving from that contract hierarchy.
Isn't that circular? What you just said is, I'm going to generate what I generate.
No. The thing is that the pattern is limit, but the fraud from the pattern. You see, the pattern is the limit, the scope. A set of pattern is here. But if you model the transaction that comprise of the pattern, if your deontologic process that a combination of the pattern, then I can identify all kind of fraud.
So let me ask you this way. So with your system, will it be possible that if I identify some new pattern, I just give you the new pattern, will your system generate the appropriate control for that pattern?
Exactly. When you have a new pattern, this is obtainable. Then you add the new pattern. Let me finish the question of Kelsey. When you add the new pattern, two things you need to do. The first thing, you add the principle. The second thing, you add the control algorithm. And then you don't. You try to solve the conflict between principle.
Okay. So what exactly your exact deliverable? Coming back to the Debra's previous question, that when you go to the defense.
So are you delivering a set of patterns?
So
are you delivering a pattern representation language?
What will exactly show us? Is it an algorithm? Is it software? Is a pattern? Is it logic? What will exactly show us?
Actually, the objective here is a formal method. A formal method. A set of pattern here, the formal method includes two things, include the control generation algorithm and the set of control principle represented formally. So, also the mechanism to reasoning about the control. You see, the method, not just the principle is not enough. Give you the principle how to derive the control. You need to have a mechanism to run the principle, to get the input from the principle, to run it. Right? To generate the control requirement.
What you're asking is the specific list, the checklist.
Yes.
When on May 1st, 2008, you present your dissertation, May Day being
Okay, you just want to here.
We want the list, so it's going to take us 10 minutes to do this, do this, do this.
Okay, I do this. I put in a sequence of importance.
Good,
Okay. 10 principles. You see it in the document already.
So these are already done.
Informally. That is
Informally,
specified informally.
okay.
Done. It's in the SP document.
Yeah.
You're sure they're going
So
to set?
yeah, that my question is basically, those 10 are enough, given any feature that you can.
Yes, that's here. That comes from the analysis is here. It's enough for this one. It's enough for the framework I showed here.
What do you mean by enough?
Let me derive from here and prevent the possible fraud related to this kind of pattern.
Okay, so
Is there something in documentary credits that you can show kind of empirically that this is enough?
Sure. The thing is that the 10 principle here is at this point of time, and I look at the documentary credit procedure, documentary credit. This is the most complex international trade procedure. And I see the documentary credit is a combination of the pattern that I showed you. I do not, because the thing that I need to do is in the validation stage. It's the next stage of the research. I will do that. But I also check.
We're trying to pin you down here. Do what? We want you to validate. You said these. I thought you were saying the same thing. How do you know these 10 principles are enough?
Yes.
In what sense of enough?
What are you going to
test it again? We're looking for a success test. Your claim is that these are enough. How do you validate that those are enough?
Okay.
Possibly using this empirical dimension.
Yes. Right. The thing is, I just explained that's enough in this stage, in the empirical evidence. That means I check the most complex inter-organizational transaction, the documentary credit. You see, and verify that on of the sub-process in the documentary credit, a combination of the pattern that I showed there.
So how would you refute it? What would be the refutability?
Refutability, I suggest, pick up a transaction in international trade. International trade.
Documentary credit.
Right, like 15 variation.
Mhm.
and show me one variation cannot be modeled in the pattern.
And how would you say cannot be modeled? How do you,
I cannot, for example,
your inability or can you?
I don't have this pattern. For example, I don't have this pattern, and show me this pattern. And it cannot be modeled, it cannot be realized the fraud. Cannot be realized the fraud.
So that there would, could be refuted if there is a fraud that you cannot detect.
So is the rough analogy here, I'm a spam filter generator, and so far so good, I'm protecting you against all known possible types of spam.
Yeah.
And then when someone comes up with a new one, I have to modify my filter.
Yeah, yeah.
So I might come up then with an 11th principle.
Sure.
Okay.
So, in that, following that analogy, you would verify the spam filter based on some quarters. Now you can't possibly claim to solve all future spam, but you're going to take the last 10,000 emails and filter out just the right spam.
Yes,
You know,
yes. And the spam is here, the spam is related. This thing, and
That's
this
your
pattern,
course.
right?
So,
based on the UCP specification.
Yeah.
Now, my question is not how you get that from whatever the DC credit. And my question is, who provides the PetroNet? It's a user. The user does not necessary to faithfully model that bit. So giving it a PetroNet, how can you do it? How can you match with the principle? Ideally, you said that if I model the credit, the DC, whatever, document credit correctly, it's adequate to use this type of PetroNet. But since the PetroNet model is created by some user, it does not necessarily faithfully catch whatever DC credit. It can be anything. And now how can you get this from, try to catch the principle?
The problem is, like if you model it in an arbitrary way, I have no way to detect the fraud. You see? The thing is that...
So your assumption is this PetroNet should correctly capture whatever the process before I can detect something.
I don't need to know whether
Just like
Okay,
when you
explain.
write the program,
Okay.
right?
Right. You need to write the program in certain way in order for the syntax checking can detect or something like that. You need to write the program in certain way like in certain language or certain structure.
Yeah, but you cannot, of course, syntactically there's no problem. PetroNet is PetroNet. If you connect something wrong, it can be. But the thing is, not only that, you imply some semantics because you try to use that to model DC, right?
Yes.
And so if somebody didn't model correctly, say you have example, what is a promise, duty, I can say promise, a duty before promise.
I think that's his assumption basically, that the input is the de-interpreted and the input that is correct.
Yeah, but
based on that, given the de-interpreted, whatever process it describes, whether it describes correctly that my given process or whether it doesn't describe, whatever it describes,
yeah.
I will be able to identify the fraud. So that's what his statement is trying to do.
Yeah, but the user
Part
can
of
make
the
a lot.
question is kind of a practical question.
Lot of
The
mistakes. They
users-
say the promise these two parties, and in the duty maybe the name is spelled wrong. That's two different.
I see.
And then you can.
May I respond to
Right.
our larger picture,
Right.
or the eventually delivering something
Yeah.
that's practical, is that alternative terminology for the deontic process is a deontic skeleton. And we're thinking of having a library of the sort of standard, and then the standard variations among those. Most of the complexity is by the adding of controls. And the
That's
controls
right.
are very
So that's why I
situation
said that it should be the
So
other
the
way around.
deontic-
That you have these patterns you let user use. You not derive the principles. Actually, you enforce the principles. You give these PetroNet patterns. Let user say here something.
We're doing a prepayment contract. A prepayment contract, so something where the money is going to be paid before the